TC, I'm elevating my laptop to make sure that
I see that.
my decal, I almost said sticker, my decal.
It is a sticker. It is a decal. It's both.
It's cool. I like it. I like it very much. Hey, great news for the listeners in Lansing, Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, and Ann Arbor, the whole state of Michigan, you Michiganders. My friends at Bet Parks, they have you covered with the Play Gun Lake Casino and Sportsbook app. I've told you this before. All your favorite casino games that you can take on the go, meaning odds and slots and bets and games all in the palm of your hand. Play Gun Lake Casino and Sportsbook app, the only that I recommend in the great state of Michigan. New users, join me now and get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're not a winner in the first 24 hours. Roulette, Baccarat, Texas Hold'em, all that good stuff from the comfort of your home. Plus, your favorite progressive slots. There's never been a better time to play. Right now, new users get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're not a winner in the first 24 hours. The Play Gun Lake Casino and Sportsbook app, it's your time to play. New users only. Casino bonus has to be wagered. Terms and conditions apply. See the website at playgunlake.com for details. Got to be 21 and in Michigan. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or Michigan Problem Gambling Helpline. That would be 1-800-270-7117. Time now for more of the headlines from Smerconish.com, the Wednesday edition of the newsletter, which is looking great today. Americans were asked, what does it take to be rich? If you had to put a numerical value on that, what does it mean to be rich? Americans do have a specific number in mind. You know what the number is because
I do know what the number is.
You peaked.
No, it's because I read Smerconish.com, the newsletter.
Are you a subscriber? We love that.
Right.
So what do you think of the number?
I mean, I don't know what I think of the number. What I think of is being like, okay, so what I'm learning now and trying to figure out finances is going into retirement. So my thinking now is if you have that much money in the bank, how much money can you spend per year when you're retired?
Right.
And what does that turn into? And is that quote unquote enough? So I think of it as like, okay, when you retire, do you have enough in the bank? And I think that number, what does that give you? Like $80,000 a year when you retire-ish. Yeah, that's enough.
I told you I went to my reunion last weekend and, some of the guys, it was the fraternity got together. So they were guys, not women as well. Already talking about retiring. Some of them have retired.
And what were you thinking? Okay, what do they have in the bank in order to be
I'm like, retired?
What? I gotta keep working.
Turn the taps back on.
What are you talking about?
I was really surprised.
Well, that's kind of interesting, right?
Yeah.
So but the survey says 2.2 million.
Right. I didn't give it away yet. But
Right.
That's the number.
Right.
2.2 million. Americans have a specific number in mind about how much it takes to be perceived as wealthy. And it's a sizable chunk of change, an average of 2.2 million in assets. It's actually declined because in 2020, when Charles Schwab asked the same question, the number was 2.6 million. Now, let's not mix rich or wealth and happiness. No. Because you remember I read and loved and spoke extensively about that book by a Harvard psychiatrist and a Harvard psychologist about the world's longest ongoing study, 80 years of happiness. And it's not money, it's relationships that they found make you happy, allow you to lead a full life. Now, they also cited in that book some of the research from Angus Deaton and Daniel Kahneman at Princeton University. If I can read just one paragraph from the book, because I think you'll find this interesting. We have talked about it before. In 2010, Angus Deaton and Daniel Kahneman at Princeton University tried to quantify the relationship of money to happiness using a year-long Gallup survey that resulted in a massive data set of 450,000 daily responses from a nationally representative sample of 1,000 people. They showed that in the United States, $75,000 seemed to be a kind of magic number at the time. Once a household income was more than $75,000 per year, which was close to average family income in the U.S., the amount of money that people earned showed no clear relationship to daily reports of enjoyment and laughter, which were used as indicators of emotional well-being. So the idea being if you're below $75,000 a year, then yes, money is going to deny you happiness?
It also kind of depends. I mean, we talked about this at the time. I think there are geographical implications as well. So it depends where you live.
Sure.
$75,000 goes a lot further in some parts of the country than it does in the other.
No doubt. But it made sense to me the way it was expressed
Right.
that you're going to have a hard lot in life until you get to a certain level. And
Right.
then at a certain,
It's like a threshold.
But getting to that level doesn't guarantee. I know plenty of very wealthy people who are miserable.
So do I.
So getting to a certain level does not guarantee that you're going to be happy.
I think it's the reverse. It's that it doesn't take away from. In other words, that
Right.
the money
That's a good
is
way to
not
say it.
right. That money is not one of the things that is an issue in your life. But interestingly, I, in the same regard, saw a piece that came out just in March of this year. Headline: One study says happiness peaked at $75,000 in income. Now economist says it's higher by a lot.
How much?
So this story is talking about new research from a Nobel Prize-winning economist and fellow researchers. New answer: 500,000.
a year.
$500,000.
That's a huge jump.
Huge jump.
75 to 500?
Yep, up to $500,000 a year. That's where happiness improves, and $500,000 is the threshold. After
Holy
which
smokes.
it is not as much of an issue. And the lead of the study says, Matthew Killingsworth of the University of Pennsylvania, in the simplest terms, this suggests that for most people, larger incomes are associated with greater happiness. Most people fall into two groups. Most people's happiness rises linearly with income, while about 30% of the people are happiest, experiencing accelerated well-being once their earnings rise above 100,000. So they're saying 30% that most people rise till about 500. About 30% cap at 100, and after that they don't get. And I think that's where the original study came in.
All right, so what's the bottom line? Sum this up.
I think the bottom line, a lot of it depends where you live, and because what you can afford and how comfortable you are and how worried you are about money. And I think that the cost of living is just going up and up and up. So that we all, in order to take the worry of money out, it's just taking a little bit more to get there.
Yeah. Money's not going to buy you happiness.
Absolutely not.
Definitely not going to buy you happiness. And
No
we haven't
question
even
about
mentioned
that.
health.
No.
Haven't even mentioned health.
I always think of Steve Jobs. That's who I think of.
Yeah, had it all.
All the money in the world.
Yeah.
You can't, pancreatic cancer gets you.
And kind of turned his back on Western medicine, but maybe it wouldn't have mattered. I don't know.
I don't know either.
More headlines from Smerconish.com, the daily newsletter. Today's poll question. Yesterday's poll question, 22,668 votes were cast. Should the media be permitted to televise Donald Trump's arraignment? 75% of us said yes or hell yes. Don't miss Oliver Darcy's piece from CNN.com, which is posted in the newsletter today, because he talks about the elaborate means CNN had to go to, relying on high school runners, to be able to be the first to broadcast word that Donald Trump had pled not guilty.
I saw a picture of them on Twitter. I'm thinking maybe 6 of them. I don't know how many there were, 6 or 7
right.
of these teenagers.
Yeah, the point being, of course, he's going to plead not guilty.
Yeah.
There's no surprise. But CNN wanted to be the first, to be able to say,
right.
And Donald Trump, we can tell you,
has now
pled guilty.
Okay, so how'd they do it?
So the way they did it was they have someone on staff, Noah Gray, CNN's senior coordinating producer, who had grown up in the Miami area, went to the Palmetto Senior High School, contacted a former teacher who runs the school's television production program. She recruited students, and they put them essentially in the position of runners. It involved payphones. Yes, there are still such things as payphones. When was the last time you used a payphone?
The last time I used a payphone was when Emma was about 3 years old.
Oh, my God.
And we were driving in northern Maine, and there was no service, and we used a phone, and she must have been a little older, because I remember her being astonished by this phone in a box.
The point is that CNN having to go to those lengths just reinforces my view that it's ridiculous they should have to. There should have been cameras there. 20 people, including the media, 20 citizens, including the media, were able to attend. And the rest of us, what did we watch yesterday? If, like me, you were trying to pay attention to all of it, you saw the motorcade of Trump leave Doral, go to the Miami courthouse, and then about a period of, 90 minutes, maybe 2 hours that he was inside, all you heard was conjecture from talking heads and I'm talking about ABC, CBS, NBC, and the cable outlets. And then we saw the motorcade leave, and he stopped at the Havana, Little Havana restaurant. Right. And then we saw the plane take off, and he went to Bedminster.
Food for everyone.
But, I mean, the part we wanted to see was the part we have a right to see. That's the thing. We have a right to see it.
Reminded me of what you always say about whisper down the lane. That's what it turned into. It was like rip it off the paper, bring it to the cell phone, bring it to the payphone, bring it to the cell phone, broadcast it out.
Ridiculous.
It was unbelievable.
Today's poll question: could you be a fair and impartial juror in the case of United States versus Donald J. Trump? I pulled the jury questionnaire from the voir dire process that's used in the Southern District of Florida. Typical for what you'd find in any court across the country, but the local practices are different. So too the involvement of the judge in the voir dire process to speak the truth. This is the jury selection process. If you're part of the pool that receives a summons in this case, the process as it relates to you as a potential juror begins with answering these 14 questions. And one of them is this: based upon the description of this case, do you have any personal views, opinions, or attitudes which would affect your ability to be a fair and impartial juror? TC, could you be a fair and impartial juror to Donald Trump?
I think I once told you I couldn't be, just because I have particular animus. I think I need to rethink that, because I think that's not fair to me. I think I could be.
Whoa.
I think I could be. It doesn't mean that I like him, or right now, do I think he's guilty? Yes. Is that okay going into it?
Could you put aside any of the biases or preconceptions?
You're allowed to have the biases and preconceptions.
I'm going to treat you like the judge would treat you.
Okay,
could you put aside whatever those biases might be and your predisposition toward the facts, and instead rely only on the evidence that's presented, Ms. Skornavicki, in the next 2 weeks?
Yes, sir, I could.
Okay. Step aside, please, and take your seat.
Did I mention where I worked?
Right, as an excuse of needing to stay employed and keep working. What else do you like at Smerconish.com or elsewhere?
Well, I thought there were several interesting, I mean, this is a terrible way of saying it, but sort of stories about death and dying that caught my interest.
Ahem.
Yes.
Your script says garden.
Oh, yes, it does. It does say that. You asked about Smerconish.com.
I know, that was my way of trying to, goose you into setting me up for this.
I'm the one that says people are asking. People are going crazy. I literally came in today and said, we must talk about your garden report on Instagram because things are happening. Yeah,
things are really happening. So we
just let it all out.
All right,
you know what I'm saying?
2 nights ago, we had a tremendous amount of rain. I
was driving on Lancaster Avenue in the middle of that, and that's our main drag.
Are we back to you now?
If people don't, no, this is as it relates to you. This is our main drag through our area. I think you could have kayaked along the right side. That's how much water was rushing down.
We needed it, which is why there was so much. You know how it gets real dry.
How did that do for your garden?
So here's the deal. You'll remember now, going back like 2+ months, I grew tomatoes and peppers in the family room, lots of them. And then waited until Mother's Day. I exercised some restraint this year and went outside and put some of them in the ground, continued to grow others inside. And it becomes a very Darwinian process, because I didn't have a frost per se, but some of them didn't make it. Okay, now I go back inside and I have others and I plant them outside. And thank God I grew a lot. Meanwhile, I would go to a local gardening store or Home Depot and walk through their gardening area, and theirs would be like this and thick as tree trunks. And mine were just little itty bitty guys. And so now, TC, I would have in the garden, all documented in my Instagram, but I would have neighboring, meaning 1 foot apart, tomato plants to see which one's going to make it. That big. Bigger than that.
Okay.
So now, after the water of 2 nights ago, and the peppers always lag behind the tomatoes, but I went out into the garden and I took a video yesterday afternoon, and everything, it's like, everything has exploded. Everything has exploded. And I have time-lapsed video that I'm going to be able to stick on Instagram as well. So I now have the dilemma of, in certain cases, I've got 2 side-by-side robust tomato plants, and the garden's not large enough to accommodate them both.
And what are you going to do?
Maybe I'm not going to kill them, gardening? But I'll either give one away, or I'll set one up in a bush next door.
Yeah.
It won't be in the garden per se.
Why don't you put container gardens in the garden? That could be attractive.
My garden, trust me, I've got not, even though you look at it and you might see blank spaces,
do.
it's like a blank can.
Yeah.
Everything is going to fill out.
I'll write
I
your
know.
name. Yeah.
So the garden's going great, and the peppers exhibited some growth as well. So things are looking
And
good.
there's a dog cameo at the very beginning.
Yeah.
Which is
a
very
little
exciting.
clickbait.
Yeah.
Little clickbait.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right, that's the
Yeah.
garden report.
That is
Now you
indeed
can
the
get
garden
back
report.
to your more...
my death,
go ahead.
my morose things that are there.
Please.
Okay. So, first of all, right here in our neighborhood, in our backyard, the collapse of I-95.
Right.
We had the councilman from that district, Councilman Mike Driscoll, on the program yesterday.
Good guest.
discussing.
Nice
he was
guy.
Great. What
Yeah.
went on? So now the family has identified the truck driver who was killed in that crash. 53-year-old Nathaniel Nate Moody was exiting I-95 onto Cotman Avenue on Sunday around 6 a.m. when he lost control of the vehicle while navigating a turn at the end of the exit. The vehicle, which was carrying about 8,500 gallons of gasoline, then turned onto its side before it ruptured and eventually exploded.
Shame.
So
Very
they
sad.
have recovered his remains.
Yeah. Be interesting to see. I'd love to know, like, how many... It happened on Sunday morning at 6 a.m. It
Yes.
would be interesting to know how many days after Sunday until people can drive north and southbound at that location in Philadelphia. We don't know.
Because obviously the northbound has totally collapsed. They
Then
now,
they're-
as of yesterday, demolished the southbound
Yeah.
because it was
It's like
structurally unsound.
a witch's smile, just totally missing.
Can't do it. Cormac McCarthy, author of No Country for Old Men, dies at 89. I didn't realize what a recluse he was until I read the Variety piece posted at Smerconish.com.
In the Southwest, maybe New Mexico.
Yeah, he's shunned publicity and lived out, didn't want to... In other words, he shunned publicity so much that one critic observed he wasn't even famous for it. Like, he just was just out.
I like the story
Santa
of the
Fe.
woman who was declared dead in Ecuador, and there was like a knock on the coffin, and it was her.
Yeah, from inside the coffin.
She was not done yet.
She was not done yet.
She was not dead. 76-year-old, unconscious when her family took her to the hospital. Babahoyo on Friday, according to the Sun. That's the town where it all took place. She's still not well, but she's back in the hospital where she remains intubated and in intensive care.
There are about 20 of them at the funeral. He said the family took her. The Sun said about 5 hours of the wake, the coffin started to make sounds. My mom was wrapped in sheets and hitting the coffin. And when we approached, we could see that she was breathing heavily.
Oh, my God. Can you imagine?
No, I cannot.
Can you imagine? I also love the story at Smerconish.com today from KTLA in Los Angeles about the family that discovered more than 1 million pennies, not a million worth of pennies, but 1 million pennies.
Worth
What, 10 grand?
10 grand.
Worth 10 grand.
If
somebody will take them.
correct.
If somebody will
I
take them.
think you have to go like bank to bank.
Right.
Because I don't think that people
Look,
will take them.
I love talking about this. We should do a call segment on it. I have a
I
bucket.
invited him.
Good.
The family.
Good. I want to learn more about this. But I have a bucket in my closet next to where I take off my pants.
Oh, well,
and
that's just great.
And
That's wonderful.
every day, although because we're so much more cashless, and I've now broken down, and I don't even use cash at Wawa anymore. It's all just on my iPhone, right? But I still have change and throw it in, and then I relish taking that bucket like every 6 months, and it's a couple $100.
Well, when Emma was still in the house, et cetera, we always had a bucket. And then when it was time to bring it in, I think I've told you this before, the deal is you guess how much is in the bucket.
Yeah.
And then whoever gets closest to it gets the money.
Don't miss the story about Garth Brooks opening up a bar in Nashville, which will be called Friends in Low Places Bar and Honky Tonk. He will be serving Bud Light. Be interesting to see how that goes over. Brooks told Billboard on Wednesday during a Country Live panel that his Nashville bar would serve every brand of beer and that he is prioritizing manners and the safety of patrons at the bar. Music related, maybe my favorite story of the day, we're going to get one more Beatles song. Dateline London, Reuters is the source. The last Beatles song featuring the voice of late member John Lennon will be released this year thanks to artificial intelligence, Paul McCartney has said.
Come on.
In an
That's
interview.
crazy.
It's funny because one of the discussions that I've had is, will artificial intelligence end the day when two people like Lennon and McCartney from Liverpool can write great songs on which we rely? Will artificial intelligence just do a better job They were such geniuses.
Yeah, but evidently it made John's voice pure, is what it said.
In an interview with BBC Radio 4 that aired on Tuesday, McCartney did not name the track, but said the technology was used on a demo that John had that we worked on. So when we came to make what will be the last Beatles record, we were able to take John's voice and get it pure through this AI, artificial intelligence, so that we could then mix the record as you would normally do. So said the 80-year-old we just finished up. It will be released this year.
Wow.
That's a hell of a story.
Wow.
Great story.
Smerconish.com.
Go to Smerconish.com. Vote on today's poll question of the day. Would you like and subscribe the video if you're watching? I'm doing all these odd finger things, but however you do that, like and subscribe the video.
Just click the thumbs up icon.
There you go. Please, right now. Do it right now. Hey,
and
Smerch
subscribe
merch.
where the bell
Smerch
is.
merch.
Yes.
Okay, I'm told that even though we haven't taken delivery of them yet, that the Frisbees and beach towels, yes, we have them, are nearly sold out.
Chop, chop.
So
the
go to Smerch merch. I can't wait until receive mine, and then I'll do a demo for you. All right. Have a good day. See ya.